Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 12 of New York and Beyond with me, Christina Kremidas. And in this episode, we are talking all about how to build a personal brand on today's biggest social media platforms, as well as how faith can be our biggest motivator and source of support. So stay tuned, we're covering everything here. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of New York and Beyond. This episode is absolutely incredible. We have Tayla Santos on with us today. You may already know her from Instagram. Tayla is a style blogger with a neutral aesthetic who is also not afraid to talk about topics of faith on her platforms. She is a wonderful inspiration, sharing stunning outfit photos, style inspo, as well as her signature inspirational devotionals across her platforms. What Tayla is about to share with us in this episode is incredibly valuable. Quickly, before I jump in, please make sure that you're subscribed, whether you're listening on the podcast or on YouTube. Please become a subscriber. That will help the podcast app or YouTube recognize that you're enjoying the content, and it will recommend it to more people. And the goal is to reach as many people as possible with this daily dose of inspiration and knowledge that New York and Beyond has become. This show really strives to connect us with people who are experts in various industries to motivate us, inspire us, and continue expanding our minds on a weekly basis. So with that said, let's talk to Tayla. Hi, Tayla.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm super excited to get this going. I'm so excited to speak to you today.
Amazing. So I briefly introduced you to our audience, but I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, your mission, what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a neutral style blogger over on Instagram. I started my journey back in 2017, but it wasn't until last March in 2020 that I actually quit my job and decided to take this on full time. So it's been a full year now. I've been doing this full time for a year, which is amazing and it's such a big blessing. On my Instagram, I strive to show neutral style. So I enjoy picking out outfits that are very easy for people to recreate from their own closet. So I focus on neutrals, timeless pieces, very simple aesthetic. And I guess you can call me kind of like a minimalist with my style. Although my closet does not show I'm a minimalist. I have two different closets, two different racks of clothes, two dressers. I have a lot of clothes, but everything is very minimal and almost, I guess you can say, basic. So I strive to also speak about my faith as much as I can. I'm a woman of faith who grew up in a Christian home. So faith is a big part of who I am, and I am not afraid to share that. So I don't share daily, but when I feel led to share something about my faith, I, of course, go for it and speak freely on that as well.
Love that so much. And this is kind of a sort of unintentional recurring theme on this show, New York and Beyond, only because we speak to people on this show from all different backgrounds. Definitely not picky and choosy about it, but in so many people's lives, especially those people who do go on to achieve greatness, we always find that there is an aspect of some kind of faith behind the scenes or something that's keeping them motivated, positive, and growing. So super excited to hear about what that is for you. And it leads me right into the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is that your visual aesthetic and your impeccable style might be the first thing that we notice when we're browsing your Instagram, but you're clearly so much more than that. And I'm wondering if you could share with our audience when your faith became an important part of your life.
Yeah, so not to be super heavy on this, but I actually, it was back in 2017 when I first started. I was in a crazy car accident, and I was hit by a drunk driver with my mom. And I can't believe like the feeling you get when you feel like you're, this is it. Like I really thought like I was done for. Like I thought I was dead. I thought my mom was dead. She wasn't responding to me. And I was just like really freaked out because I was like, I'm coming from my sister's basketball game. Like that's how quickly things can turn. Like, you know what I mean? So I remember we both walked away perfectly fine. Like it was such a big impact, but we were able to both get out of the car and walk to the ambulance to get to the hospital. But we were totally fine. Like my mom just had a little bit of bruising on her chest. I had nothing wrong with me, nothing. I had apparently smashed my head on the window and shattered it, but nothing showed for it. Like my head CAT scan, everything came back normal. There were no cuts, nothing. There was tons of glass within my hair, but no break, like no break on my skin at all. Um, and I just thought like my purpose in life is not completed yet. Like I'm not done with what God wants me to do. So when you're not done with with what God wants you to fulfill, you're not done on earth. Like no matter, nothing can touch you. Like God has a plan and he puts that desire in each and every one of us so that we do want to fulfill it and we work for him and his kingdom. So I just wasn't done yet here on earth.
Wow, that's incredible. That's such an incredible story, and I wasn't expecting that. You definitely you share a lot about yourself on your website, and I thought I did my research just by following you religiously and seeing your stories that you share on your blog, but that one I didn't know. So I that was like a little that was crazy. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I feel like no one actually knows that. Like no, I've never shared it before. So yeah, your audience will be the first to hear that. I've never shared it, but I've also never been asked that question. So
Wow. Okay. Well, wow, this is insane that this is some like really cool information that we didn't know about you before, and it's such a big part of your life. And I could just imagine almost like, do you have this feeling of like untouchable like status now? Do you like walk through life with like a confidence that you didn't have before?
I walk through life with a lot more like faith in God because I know that his timing is so perfect now. Like there's no reason for me to stress because I saw this thing actually on I think it was TikTok the other day and it was like you get on a plane not knowing the pilot, but you trust you'll get to your destination. You get on a train not knowing your director or whatever it's called, but you trust that you'll get to your destination. Why would you live life knowing God is in control then? You know, like it's like God's in control of your life. The same way a pilot is in control of your flight, you trust them. Why not trust God with that same amount of trust that he's going to get you through your life the way that he intended to? So,
It's so incredible. And it's funny that you mentioned TikTok too, because I see a lot of it on TikTok as well. And so many TikTok, young, like really young influencers on TikTok who are gaining really huge audiences are really sharing their faith in a very profound way. And it's been very interesting because I almost feel like our generation or, people of that like I would say like young millennial age group, like we had faith like in the background, but we weren't really vocal about it when we were younger. And it's
yeah.
been like very interesting. Well, not all of us were. I don't want to speak for you, but I do feel like there's a huge shift and almost like a trend in the younger generation that's coming up, and they're very, very vocal about it, and they're so faithful. And it's something that's kind of really cool to see.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing it. It's so funny because I feel like yeah, you don't see it. You didn't see it like a few years back. Now it's like something that people aren't afraid to share about. And I love that. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really, really is. It honestly gives us like hope for the future. Like no matter what you believe in, if it's something like you believe in good, and that's like what we need right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have a Bible verse from Proverbs in your Instagram bio. Can you share it with us and explain to our audience the meaning that it holds for you?
Yes. So the Bible verse is Proverbs 31:25, which is she's clothed in strength and dignity and laughs without fear of the future. And that's been a huge kind of rock for me. And a lot of people don't understand why, but I was working so many odd jobs before I quit my job and became what I am today. I was always so nervous to quit and start doing this. But then again, I knew that this was what God wanted me to do. Like since 2017, I was like, this is the one thing I haven't fulfilled. I've worked in my degree. I graduated as a psych major. So I worked at a school, an elementary school with kids who struggled behaviorally. And it wasn't what I needed to do. It wasn't what I was called to do. So I knew that I needed to pursue fashion blogging, anything within this realm because I felt like God needed to be shown in the fashion industry. So that's why I quit my job. And that's why I like the part where it says she laughs without fear of the future because I just so freely quit my job. I had no kind of second thoughts about it because I knew that my future was in God's hands. So it's There's so much to it and so many reasons. I actually break it down in a blog post and I explain the whole thing of why that verse means so much to me. And it's just basically having that faith in God and knowing that you are clothed in so much dignity and you have so much more strength than you think that you have. And you can definitely pursue your dreams and not worry about your future when it's all in God's hands. So,
So cool. So cool. And when I read that quote, I even thought too, I'm like, wow, it's so cool because it says she is clothed. And I'm like, you're into fashion. It just like hits on so many levels. It's just like made for you. I love that. And yeah, and I relate to your story. And it was the same year for me was 2017. I had been working in advertising for about 6 years and I was doing very well. Like there wouldn't be a sign of like a switch coming up, but I just felt inside and it had been for a while. I knew I wanted to pursue a career as a real estate agent in New York. And it was so interesting because I don't know if you relate to this aspect of it, but when you're doing something that might not be your calling or your purpose, you might be doing very well at it, but you experience emotions and feelings that might be like more negative, like maybe anxiety or stress or, overwhelming feelings that you kind of like shake as soon as you take on something that's even more stressful objectively.
yeah.
But once you know that this is it for you and this is your right path, you definitely feel as stressed. You definitely feel a different sense of stress, but tell me if you relate. It's different, like maybe a little bit less of the negative emotions. Would you agree?
100%. Like everyone in my family said that. They're like, Taylor, you're leaving a job that paid you, you know, regularly every week. Like you were getting a steady paycheck. You had everything you needed. You're working for the state. And now you have to build everything from the bottom up. Like, how are you not? Because my biggest thing was I struggled with so much anxiety at the last job. Like it was so bad. Like I would be throwing up before work because I couldn't stand going in. And they're like, how is your anxiety going to just randomly stop by now having to create a job for yourself from the bottom up? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to figure it out.
I can't, oh my gosh, no, I can't believe how many consistencies we share. I'm so happy to like now be able to call you a friend and like a member of the New York and Beyond like community because wow, I completely relate. And I think that so many people in our audience relate as well. I mean, I was like anxiety stricken to my core. Like it was awful. And that was one of the things that was so scary for me to change careers. I'm like, I'm the most
Yeah.
anxious person in the world. How will I excel? And even I remember, I think it was my mom that asked me this question recently. And we were talking about how, like when something's right, you just kind of like, is it a gut feeling? You just know you're going to make a decision and it's going to be, taking you in the right direction. And she's like, how do you know when that's the case? And I just said, you feel peace.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to say that like you don't have anxious days. Like I've had in the past like 2 months, I've had 2 anxiety attacks. Like I still deal with anxiety. Like I still deal with all of that, but it's like now I can kind of pinpoint where my anxiety is coming from. Whereas before, like I would just be like an anxious person all the time, So now it's like I can pinpoint it and be like, oh, it's because I have a really big thing coming up that I'm super excited for, but I also am nervous because I want to do my best, So then I'm like, okay, that's where that's coming from. Like now I can take a deep breath. It's all in my control right now. It's fine. Whereas before, it's like nothing was in my control. Like nothing was. It was all with this job that I had because I felt like I needed it. So it's just a different feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's supposed to give you the closure and the security, but really you don't feel it's kind of crazy. And I hope that too, anyone listening that's considering making a career change, if they do feel, I think our message really is trust your gut too, to a certain extent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could you share with us the point of view that you wrote about in your 2019 blog post? I think it was called What Happens When the Battle Chooses You. And if you could share with us how you turn to your faith when life gets challenging, and do you feel that this approach helps you uncover the right next steps and keep a positive mindset?
Yeah. So I actually went back and read that blog post again the other day, and I was honestly so inspired by myself. It's so weird because when I write, like I'm like, okay, this is just my story. But when I wrote that, I was so sick. Like I was in bed for 2 weeks. I had, they still haven't diagnosed it to this day, but it was just a sickness that felt like I had the worst of the worst flus. And I was in bed. I remember not being able to feel my legs. My neck was just frozen, like I couldn't turn, but like all the pain would stem from like almost like a sore throat. Wow, sounds like COVID now, but it wasn't. But I had it for 3 years. Like I would be fine for like 2 or 3 months, and then I'd get it and I'd be like super sick in bed for 2 weeks. I'd miss like a lot of work. And I'd go to the doctors, I'd go to hospitals, and they'd be like, I don't know what it is. Like your tonsils look fine. This looks fine. That looks fine. And I'm like, no, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I had to be like my biggest advocate. And there were times like my mom would stand by me, but then there were also times where she was like, Tayla, maybe it's just anxiety, or maybe you're just not feeling well because your mind is somewhere else. And I'm like, no, like I know something's wrong. Um, and that in that like area of my life, that's when the battle chose me. So now, you get yourself in situations sometimes, but other times like your situations happen to you and it's stressful and you don't know how to handle these. I just remember knowing that like God is in my corner and he only gives you what he knows you can actually fight through. So I just kept fighting. I just kept fighting. And eventually I got to the point. I don't know if this is in the blog post because I don't think I was sick during that time. But in the end, I ended up finding a surgeon who was willing to take my tonsils out anyways. Like I was like, if that's where the pain is stemming from, there has to be something going on there. So he did the surgery, took my tonsils out, and he actually found that I had a bunch of cysts behind my tonsils that could have burst and created really bad infection and caused me to lose my voice permanently. Um, Created like really bad illness, and potentially could have been fatal. So he was like, we couldn't ever have seen these through any scans that they had done. But of course, it took me being my own advocate that when they went in for surgery, they found it and were able to recover it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, that's so crazy to really have to stand up for yourself like that. And that's really scary too, not knowing what the source of your pain is coming from.
Yeah.
Love that story. And I was wondering, I was going to ask you if you're okay now because the blog post doesn't tell us that you're okay now. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if you're still struggling with this, but I'm glad to hear that you're not.
Yeah, I should probably update that. I think that'd probably be a great blog post of me updating because, yeah, that was a crazy blog post. I feel like I still have to go back and read it to fully like grasp it, but there's definitely a lot in there.
Really, honestly, truly, it's just, and when it goes back to trusting your body, trusting your instincts, trusting your guts. Absolutely. We're just going to switch gears a little bit and talk about your Instagram. Could you share your handle with us one more time, really quickly, so that if anyone wants to go check it out while we're chatting, they can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Tayla SNTS. I feel like people don't understand why it's Tayla SNTS, but it's literally just Tayla Santos, and Santos is just without the vowels. So no A or O.
Perfect. So Tayla SNTS. So if you guys want to check out her feed, I definitely encourage it. Give her a follow because her feed is beautiful and it's also very inspirational, which I love. So can we talk about your aesthetic? Your Instagram feed is so pleasing to look at. Does photo editing and graphic design come naturally to you, or did you have to develop that skill over time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I actually did, I went into college with the intention of getting a degree in photography. So I did 2 years of photography, which the first 2 years are very focused on editing and kind of lighting and the basic stuff, which is really all you need anyways. Like the last 2 years are all about like your shows and um, critiques and all that. And I was like, that's not, I don't need all that. I just needed the basics and I'm out. So I did the 2 years of photography and then I switched my major to psych. And that's when I graduated with a degree in psych, but with all the knowledge I needed to pursue photography. So
Awesome. Cool. So you would say that most of why your photos look amazing is because you're actually taking a quality photo. It's not like the editing later.
well, I think it's hand in hand because some of the photos on my Instagram are with my DSLR camera and they're very high quality and high resolution, but some of them are with my phone, but I can still edit them, to look like they're high quality with the different edits I use. I use Lightroom, and the thing that's crazy is like my feed will switch up a lot. So during the spring and summer, it's very light and airy. Like it's very minimal edits, because that's when we look our best, like we're nice and tan, we're glowing. So I don't ever really edit much in the spring and summer, but in the fall and winter, I feel like my style tends to shift more towards like the darker colors, and it's a little bit more dramatic. So I make my feed match that. So during the fall and winter, I have a bit more edit to my photos. I take down all my greens, blues, and purples in my photos because you have a lot of blues in the winter time. People don't really think so, but the snow turns blue because of the reflection of the sky, and it doesn't look nice. So I edit all of that out, which leaves me with that gray kind of aesthetic that I have on my feed now. But we are entering into spring. So within the next week or two, there will be a major shift, where we'll be going to like a no edit, no filter type of look. So I'm really excited for it.
So cool. I'm definitely going to be looking out because I am always trying to make my feed look nicer and it always looks ugly. I don't know why. I just like, I feel like the quality is there, but it's so difficult for me. I think it just has to do with like the creative eye, which is ironic because I have a digital design minor because I love the space. It's
Mhm.
just, I'm just not that good at it, like at the end of the day. So I love hearing these tips from you about, not over editing. Do you use presets or do you edit individually?
So I have my own preset that I use like throughout. So I'll make a preset at the beginning of the season and then just apply it. But they're all very minimal. Like people will be like, "Oh, are you going to sell your preset?" But one, I feel like it works for my specific skin tone because if you're a brown or black girl, like a lot of the presets don't work with your skin tone, because they play a lot with oranges, and oranges, they're not going to work for you either because you have red hair. So they're gonna end up either making your hair look super red in a bad way, or they're going to make your hair look super gray. And that's exactly what it does for my skin complexion, is it'll either take it away completely or make it super fake looking.
Yeah.
So I make them all my own on my own. But during the summer and spring, I really just adjust lighting and sharpness. So I'll bring up the sharpness a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I'm like, tell us everything. I want to.
And that's a good point. I also, then the other thing that I get asked a lot is like, how do you make them all look the exact same? And it's location, right? So it's the colors you wear and the location. Because if the location is a blue background, but my whole feed is neutral, it's not going to work. So I make sure to shoot in the same locations. So like the same 3 or 4, but just finding colors in the background that are going to match without me having to edit. So yeah.
Amazing. Really, really good to know. There's a lot of thinking that goes on behind it. It's not accidental. It's not just like, oh, let me just upload this cute picture. Like there's thought behind it. Do you use apps that help you plan your feed like Visco, or do you know enough at this point where you upload the image and you know that it's going to look nice with all the other ones?
Yeah. So I actually shared this the other day in a clubhouse, and everyone was so like shocked about it. But I just use my camera roll and I create a separate album called my feed. And I can just drop all the pictures into my album and you can move them around on your iPhone. Like you can move them in the app. So you literally can just plan your feed. And it's great because a lot of apps don't allow you to plan video content, but in your album, you can see exactly what it's going to look like on your feed as a video. So life hack.
Genius. I'm like, why don't I know any of this? Okay, wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing advice coming through from Tayla here. That's so cool. I've heard of like, I have an album that's like photos that I know I want to at some point use for Instagram, like a good pictures album. But
Yeah.
having a feed album is so genius. I
Yeah. It's life changing.
love that. I'm definitely gonna do that. 100%.
Yay.
Seriously, I need all the help I can get, honestly. And I feel like the audience too. Like, I feel like the audience is always interested in this as well. Whenever we talk about Instagram hacks and tips and tricks, we do see like a lot of people tune in. So
I have friends who aren't good with aesthetic feeds. Like it actually gives them like anxiety. Like they
yeah,
hate thinking about it. They then don't go create content because they're not sure what to create next to make it go with their last picture. Basically, the thing is, there are so many feeds out there, or so many girls or content creators who never follow an aesthetic, but each and every one of their pictures tells its own story. So it's so fun to like look at if you have really good quality content in each photo. I think of Paige, I don't remember her last name, but if I remember it, I'll send it to you. But her first name is Paige, and she creates like each photo is so amazing because she always swipes and shows the process of creating that photo. So like it may not go with the previous photo, although her feed is now starting to look very cohesive because she's using the same edits. But each photo is so awesome, and it makes you want to click them because you'll see her awesome pose or her great outfit, and you're like, I wonder what the behind the scenes of this looks like of her taking this picture. So you click every single one of her pictures and you swipe to see like the behind the scenes of the process. So just creating like that thing that your audience is going to want to click and look. So whether that's, I don't know, a tip in the comments or the caption. So everyone's going to click your picture on your feed and scroll to look at the caption. So just creating some value behind your content that maybe it's not aesthetic, but maybe you're offering awesome value to your audience.
So awesome. Yeah, because I feel like it's tough sometimes for creating the aesthetic. And I know sometimes too, like sometimes I like the way the color in the image looks and I don't want to like dull it down, but then next to other pictures, it just looks very busy and like, it's not as ideal. So this was so
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah, absolutely.
So Taylor, you built a large engaged audience on social. How did you achieve this? Do you have any strategies and tips that you can share with us for how to achieve growth on Instagram and social media?
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who do not know, I grew my page in 1 year from 2,500 followers to 32,000 followers. And the way I did it, and it's funny because I actually shared this with a friend who is a CEO of a marketing agency, and now they call it the Tayla tactics, and they give it to their clients to do. So I'm like, maybe that's why it's not working for me anymore, but I'll share what I did. And it's basically finding a day or finding a time during the day that your audience is most engaged, like who you already have right now, and post every single day at that time. So mine was 11 o'clock during quarantine because everyone was sleeping in, everyone had nothing to do. So everyone was most likely on Instagram in like the late morning around 11 o'clock. So I started posting my content every single day at 11 o'clock. I didn't post on, actually, for the first month or two, I did post every single day, weekends included. And then I also would go on stories at least once a day showing my face. I would comment on the previous picture when I post my new picture. So, say I post a picture right now, I would actually go back to my last picture and like all of those comments and engage with that audience on that picture, because then it drives people back to your new picture because they're going to click and say, oh, Taylor liked my comment. They're going to click it, and most likely they're going to go back to your feed and check, and they're going to be like, wow, a new post is up. So I would do that as well. So those are my 3 tips. Post at the same time every day. Get on your stories at least once a day, talking and showing your face, and commenting back to your audience. I think that was it.
So that's actually so smart and not something I thought to do because you would think that you would reply to your comments like as they come in, like as soon as you can. But
Yeah, I would reply to some of them. Like, some that really caught my eye, I would reply to. But like it's the day after that I would go and deeply engage with every single one. Maybe even go to a few of their pages, like a few of their pictures, because it drives them back.
so smart. I really, really love that. I feel like that's so critical, 100%. I can't imagine not getting results if you're doing that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was crazy. I didn't realize how much it worked until, now I'm here and it actually worked.
Oh, cool. Right. Like, and is that when you saw your growth? Was it 2020?
Yeah, it was literally last year. I mean, so much more came into it. Like during that time, after about 2 months of me posting every day at the same time, we had the incident where George Floyd was killed by the police officer. And then we had a lot more gun violence. And we had, especially in my city, there were a lot of people shot and killed. That's why I said that. That was very daunting and not fun to talk about or hear about all the time. However, it was reality. So I spoke out on it and I shared my own stories and how I, felt about it and where my mind was with it. And that story, it was an IGTV, and it got shared on a lot of platforms. So when that happened, I started to get a lot more traction on my page. But what I tell people, because like some people will be like haters and they'll be like, oh, you blew up overnight, because I ended up gaining 20,000 followers in a week because people like, I forget his name, he's an NFL player, but his wife shared my feed on her page. Like she actually took one of my pictures and posted it on her feed and said like, this girl's super inspirational, like go watch her video, check her out. And that day I got over 4,000 followers from that thing. Like my picture on her page got like 1 million likes. And I
Wow.
was like, it's crazy. So a lot came from that. Other people like I think Jessica Alba shared my page, which was insane. And then she sent me stuff from her makeup line. Um, it
Wow.
was it was insane. I was featured in Cosmopolitan, the magazine, which was also insane. But people will say like, oh, you just blew up overnight because of that, like whatever. But I always tell people like, make sure your page is blow up ready. Like make sure your content is there because say I had that one great video, but my content was like, me and my dog at the park, or then it's like a blurry picture of me doing something else. People would likely not follow. Like they'll like the video, they'll comment on the video, but they probably wouldn't follow me. So make sure your page is always blow up ready. You're putting back like the best stuff forward. You're being super authentic. Make people want to relate to you. Be super authentic. Be creating great content so that you're ready to be discovered. So yeah.
I love that. That's so powerful. So powerful. And yeah, it's like you could say like, oh, it's you blew up in a day, but it's because you put the quality content out there. So there was work done behind the scenes for that as well. It wasn't like, it might not have been intentional for you to get picked up by those big accounts, but you still did the work.
Yeah,
Still
exactly.
you, like it's still you that deserved it. That's crazy. So many haters, right?
I know. And I had a hard time at first because I was like, oh my gosh, they're so right. Like I literally just blew up because of these accounts and like whatever. But then people were like, no, you're the one who's putting out the content. Like if you didn't film that video or you didn't have an aesthetically pleasing feed, then the likes or the odds of people actually following would have been very low.
Right, right. Did you feel like a new pressure once you had those new people that joined you in that month? Like to be like, oh my God, I need to make amazing content?
Yes, it was crazy. I was stressed. I was like, all right. I woke up the next day, like super early. I was like, all right, let's get ready. Like, let's take some pictures. It was so bad. I think that week I overworked myself so much, but like I was very active on stories. Like, it's crazy because you get that like big, like, I don't know. It was insane. Like the amount of activity and engagement on my page, like my stories, like I stopped sharing my family because like my stories went to like 20,000 views per story that month. And
Well,
it was like, I don't know what to share because so many people are seeing it.
yes.
So it was a lot of pressure at first.
Wow. Yeah, like a whole new pressure. That's crazy. But you like stepped up to it and you totally took it. You totally owned it.
Yeah, I tried.
I love that so much. Do you have any advice for someone who's looking to grow a brand online?
It's tough. I mean, after I did start a brand, like an actual clothing brand while I was on last year. And I ended up stopping it because it was so hard. It was so hard to start an actual brand online. But if you're any type of brand, whether it's a personal brand like how I am on Instagram, or it's a brand like a clothing brand, or you're selling merchandise or whatever, I think consistency is really going to be it. Like, don't be afraid to share your clothing with other people too. So whether that's sending it to like an influencer and saying like, hey, can you shoot this and send it back? Like, it's okay to ask for it to be sent back. I think some people think it's like they have to gift it, but there are people out there who are willing to just shoot the item for about, whatever their cost is, but they'll send you the product back. So you can then still, sell it, whatever, use it for other shoots. But I do think I like one company I worked with had a specific model wardrobe. So she had things, it was me and three other girls. And, we would shoot the content with the pieces, but we'd send it back. And like the other person would then like, shoot as well. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, as long as they're dry cleaning it in between, so I'm not wearing it after someone else did. But just be super open-minded and not afraid to ask questions too.
That's awesome advice. Yeah. And I think thank you so much for also sharing the fact that it's not easy because I think that everyone thinks that, they post like 3 good pieces of content and it's like, okay, why are we not famous yet?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not TikTok. You're not going to blow up with one thing.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. So, that's definitely really good advice. Do you feel like you ever have trouble overcoming your doubts, or do you have advice on how you're able to overcome your doubts about, I'm sure that you must struggle with ideas of like, is this something that's going to pay the bills? Will this be lucrative? Like essentially, being able to stop worrying about those things and focus on the big picture?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. I try not to get caught up in that thought because it can be very stressful. And especially when it comes to like day-to-day content, like is this picture going to perform well? Is this brand going to want to work with me again because of the way that this photo does? Because Instagram is very wonky. Like one day you'll post something, the engagement will be super high. The next day it's like an even better picture, but it performs lower. So even with like the day-to-day, it's hard because like I remember one brand I worked with, I thought the content came out super great. The engagement was the highest of that I've had in a while, but turns out nobody clicked my link, nobody bought from my link. And now the brand's like, well, that's what we were looking for, so we don't want to work with you again. But like the tough part was I definitely had people in my DMs saying like, "Oh, I just bought these boots or I just bought this top." And it's from that brand, but the thing is like I know people may not understand the value of when I share my link, like that's where my engagement really needs to lie because if you're going to buy something, please buy it through my link because it helps me reach out back out to those brands and be like, "Hey, like yeah, people did see that. That was a great product."
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's really important because I don't think that many people do realize that that's a huge metric and it's a big measure of success. And it's also part of how people that do have an online presence earn income that they need. And yeah, like it's like you're taking the time to make this product recommendation, develop a beautiful photo to advertise it, and the assumption is that you do obviously believe in the product. So yeah,
Mhm.
if you're providing the link, it usually is an affiliate link, and it's important to shop right there. And I think that sometimes definitely you may give the idea to someone and then they'll go Google it later and the
Yeah.
credit is not going back to you. But that's a big thing. So thank you for mentioning it, guys. So if your favorite person that you enjoy following on social media is sharing a product with you, just get it right there with the link that they provided or try to go back to it and use that because it definitely helps them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Do you think that style blogging is a saturated industry that doesn't have much growth potential anymore, or do you feel like it's still possible for newcomers to emerge and flourish?
So I get this question a lot actually, and I feel like I look at the amount of style bloggers there are, but then you look at the amount of brands that there are out there. Like how many different brands sell the same exact thing, but they're just reaching different audiences, So when I first started, I thought there was no way that I was going to get recognized because there's so many other style bloggers. However, there weren't when I started, there were no neutral style bloggers. Like I would search endlessly for inspiration and I could not come across any that looked like me specifically. Like I had a hard time finding a black girl who shares neutral style. Now obviously, yes, I am black, but I also come across like I'm mixed. I'm not, but I come across that way. And I know it's because of my different features. People think that I am, mixed with something else. I get that question all the time. Are you half black and white? No, I'm 100%. Both my parents are from the Cape Verde Islands, which is off the coast of Africa. So I'm fully black. But it was tough because I couldn't find anyone who looked like me and did neutral styling. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. Now I see it everywhere. So there are so many small little niches that you can get yourself into and expand your brand through that niche. I did it with neutral style. Maybe there's someone else who only wears I actually found this girl the other day who only wears black. She only wears black. She has like beautiful blonde hair, but she only wears black, and that's her niche. She like mixes with textures and different lengths, like layering and stuff, and she makes it look so beautiful. So maybe someone else's niche who wants to start is like, I only wear stilettos. Like I only wear heels with my outfits. And it doesn't have to be every day that you do that. Cause I mean, hey, yesterday I was wearing a pink hoodie, but like on my feed, I present this really amazing aesthetic of neutral styling.
So cool. So do you ever feel like your feed is missing out on the full Taylor wardrobe, or do you feel like it's totally unnecessary?
No, I feel like it is a lot of who I am. Like I never feel like it's missing. anything because I said I was wearing a pink hoodie the other day, but it's because it's my cousin's brand's hoodie. So like I'm supporting him by wearing his it was like one of the what is it? Like the breast cancer awareness sweaters. So I'm wearing that because I'm supporting, but honestly, the majority of my closet is neutral anyways. Like you can see my rack over there. It's all neutral.
And so, and also that's the other thing too, is like, you don't have to, even if you're wearing an outfit that's not like your characteristic look,
Yeah.
you have to post everything. You know, I do feel like there's incredible pressure now with influencers, and it's like, you have to show your worst photos. You have to be pressured to like show the no makeup, show. And I'm like, I understand, like, I'm here for it. I'm here for seeing what natural people look like. Cause now it's like, you don't even know anymore what
Yeah.
people look like when they're natural, but we don't need to have the pressure of showing. We could show what you can show what you want still, you can curate it. That's part of what, right? I feel like that's part of what, even when influencers edit their pictures, I feel like, over editing is troublesome, but I still feel like I see the art that's coming through. Like I see why the picture performs well. And I still have an appreciation for that, that goal of like, this is what I wanted, this is what I aspire to show you guys, and I see it as an art still.
And I feel like too, like there's like this line where, my feed is super, what's it called? Curated and, like organized, but yet like there's so many different aspects to social media because I also go on my stories and I show a different side. Like on my stories, I can be wearing, I remember a specific time where I had like a pink slip dress and that's what I wore out one night. So I shared it, but no, I didn't take a picture and post it on my Instagram. However, like I'm showing like I can wear, I feel like the only other color I wear is pink, but I feel like I can still show, different outfits and stuff and share on my stories. I also did like a blog post where it was like a week in color where I wore color every day for a week just because people were like, can you even do it? Like, do you know how to style color? And I'm like, of course I know how to style color. I just don't want to. But yeah, the occasional pink dress or blue dress will make an appearance and I'll usually post it on my stories, but I don't feel the need and I don't really want to, or I don't love it enough that I want to share it on my feed.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely a cool perspective and a cool approach. And the concept of like, you don't have to share everything, I think too, is like, it's just good to reiterate as well,
Yeah.
What's your biggest piece of advice for someone who's looking to work for themselves and get their message out to the world?
It's definitely to find, like, if you have that desire in you, remember that you were given that desire on purpose. So nothing is on accident. And if you don't believe in God, there's a reason for all of this desire that you have. So you may be the only one who feels the way that you feel. So sharing that is very important. But yeah, whatever you're passionate about, just take that fire and allow it to ignite your future. So I just get so excited about it because I know that desires aren't planted in people for no reason. So if you have that, just go with it, be consistent, produce the best work that you can, and create stuff that you're proud to share with people, like on the subway. Like if you're not happy to share about it with other like strangers, then what's the point? Like create something you can share with everybody.
Yes. And this wasn't something that we've discussed previously, but I'm wondering if you have advice for how to adjust your mindset when you're faced with people who don't also see your vision, people that maybe doubt or say like, why are you bothering doing this? Like we experienced a lot when we were doing our career changes.
Yeah, 100%. And even to like now, I get people all the time who say like what you're doing is nothing special, and to that I say what you do is not made for everybody. If it was, you have how many people are in the world? Like 30 whatever billion, whatever people, you would have that many followers. Like what you do is not meant to be for everybody. I actually got a nasty DM the other day that said like, why are the people who have the most boring style the people who actually end up being influencers? They're like, all you wear is trench coats and sweatpants and you consider yourself to be a style blogger. That's not style. And I just responded and I said, hey, like if you don't like what I post, it means that this is not where you're supposed to be. Like no hard feelings. Like not everyone's going to love it. There are so many different types of style bloggers out there. You just have to find the one that you feel is inspiring you. And if they're not inspiring you, that's not an insult. It just means they're not meant for you. So don't take rejection from one person as you're doing the wrong thing. It just means that's not your person that you need to be reaching out to.
Amazing, amazing advice. Amazing advice. And not to respond to like negativity, I feel like is the biggest thing too.
Yeah, no need.
I feel like many people don't realize how much work goes into producing content and that it is legitimately a job that is not an easy one. And I think it's easy for some people to be like, oh, well, like you're doing something for fun or you like it or it's not that hard and like you're seeing so much success and it's easy to get the haters for sure.
Yeah, 100%. They always come. They always come. If they don't come right away, they come with time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's just staying positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you share with our audience one more time your website, your Instagram handle, all the ways that they can get in touch with you? Let our audience know what can be found on your website too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me first on Instagram at Tayla SNTS. And that's where I post daily outfit of the day photos and posts, whether that be reels or actual photos, carousel posts, anything. I'm always active on there. So if you're looking for the day to day, that's kind of where to find me. On my YouTube, I'm Tayla Santos, and you can find just weekly vlogs. I've been trying to incorporate a little bit more fashion and styling on there. So definitely check that out as well. You'll be one of the first 1,000 subscribers if you do, because I am slowly creeping up there. I just started it back in November, so it's still a journey. So I'd love if you guys join me on that. And then also my website is taylascloset.com. I'm starting to be a little bit more active on there, posting my outfit of the days, posting more devotionals, a little bit more of my journey, my faith journey, and growing closer to God. So you can definitely find me on there and subscribe so that you don't miss blog posts. But I think that might be it. I do have a TikTok. I mean, it's a little bit of a mess, but it's the same thing, Tayla SNTS. So you can definitely find me on there as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your incredible expertise and knowledge with us. That is what this show is all about. New York and Beyond focuses on being your little dose of inspiration. Each week, we want you to walk away. We want the audience to walk away with something that they didn't know before, a little bit more inspired, just your weekly pick me up. And you completely did that for us this week. So thank you so, so, so much.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun chatting with you.
Guys, wow. Okay, when I have guests on the show, I know that the show is going to be good, but I don't always know the full story of everything that our guests are going to be talking about. And this was just phenomenal. The information that Tayla shared with us, I feel is gold. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, please like the video and please continue sharing this content around so we can grow our community. We support each other here. We are leveling up together. And it's been so cool to see where this show has taken us. Reminder to also follow me on Instagram. My handle is Christina.Kremidas. That's just another really great place for us to get to know each other better. You can always send me a direct message there, and you can also send me an email anytime. All of my contact info is in the description. New episodes of New York and Beyond go live every Tuesday, so stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you guys then.